When I was in, fourth-ish grade, this girl, Christy, she had a New Year's Eve party. And she invited a bunch of people. She invited all my best friends, and not me. Like all of my friends that I had planned to spend New Year's with, she invited to the party. And didn't invite me. And I was really upset about it. I felt really left out, like, what's wrong with me? Why am I too much of a spaz? Am I this or that? And she wasn't like a close friend, but I didn't think she was close friends with my besties, but she invited my besties. And I, of course, then asked my best friends to skip her party and hang out with me, and they were like, we really kind of want to go. Because it's where all the cool kids got invited to the party, and not me. And I was so heartbroken that I got left out. And you know what? That kind of stuff still happens. Just this school year, the school's under construction, and the teacher's lounge was under construction when school started. And the teacher's lounge is right by the cafeteria. In the cafeteria, we've got a soup and salad bar and all this stuff. So I like to eat in the teacher's lounge because it's close to the food. It's got a microwave, a fridge, all this stuff. So because when school first started, we couldn't use the teacher's lounge, some of the other girls, our lunches are 5 minutes apart, so I had the first lunch, and then 5 minutes later there was another set of people in there, my friends. And so I figured out that they were eating in this one woman's room. But her room, especially with construction, is super far away from the cafeteria, and we're supposed to escort our kids down and back, so it's this is really far away. And she doesn't have a microwave, she doesn't have a salt and pepper, she doesn't have napkins, all the things that the teacher's lounge has, she doesn't have. So, but we ate there because it's well, there is no teacher's lounge. We'll just eat here for now. Well, the teacher's lounge about 3 weeks in was back online. They had got it put together. And so I, being the includer emailed all the people in my lunch and said, hey, I think we should eat in the teacher's lounge now that the teacher's lounge is open because the teacher's lounge has all the things that you need for lunch. And some people I don't care, and I said to my friend Jody, I'm if you don't care, say that you're going, so that they'll be oh, this is where people are going. So they're well, we'll try it for one day. Well, another reason they don't like to eat in the teacher's lounge is there's a bathroom, imagine a rectangle, and they took a little square of that and made a bathroom for teachers. And the door for that bathroom used to open into the hallway. But as part of construction, they moved that door into the teacher's lounge. And they're I don't want to be sitting there eating and hearing bathroom noises or smelling bathroom smells. And they were really creeped out by it. I'm oh, it'll be fine. We'll just all make a pact to not use the bathroom that all of us used before, but we'll all make a pact to not use that bathroom. And since that has opened, I think 3 times since the start of school, anyone who's used that bathroom during lunch, but whatever. So they came, and we also eat with the elementary because with the construction, now the elementary eats the same time as us, which is great for them, so they're not eating so early. But so the teachers aren't just crowded because there's 2 sets of teachers eating there at the time. So the day they came, no one used the bathroom, but it was really crowded because we also have people who aren't teachers who come and eat. And so if you have a couple of them with the teachers, it gets really crowded. So it was really crowded that day. They had to kind of sit at the 2 different tables. And so the next day they weren't there. They all went back to the other teacher's room, but nobody told me. And somehow they all knew to go back to her room, but not me. And I just really felt, it really hurt me. It took me right back to 4th grade. It took me right back to there's something inherently wrong with you. You're too weird. You're too much of a spaz, you're too whatever, or not enough whatever, you're not cool enough, you're not fun enough, whatever. I don't know why they chose to not invite me. I don't know if they just happened to run into each other and just happened to talk about it and just happened to make a plan and forgot to tell me, or if they, when you're hurt, you imagine that they're oh, we're going to meet back up in her room, but don't tell Stephanie, because she wants to eat the teacher's lounge. That's the way I took it. It's probably not what happened. But that's the way I took it. And I was so hurt. And I still to this day, I'm I don't know that they're my friends. I feel like they're just my colleagues. So that relationship was broken in a way that I don't know that it'll get healed in the couple years I have left to teach. But I felt like such a misfit. And a lot of times in my life, I have felt like a misfit. I have a lot of energy, and I'm kind of intense. If if I really let you guys in, you'd be like, dang, girl, I am intense. Like, if I really let you guys into my thought process on things, you'd be like, breathe. Because I have a lot of thoughts, and they're deep thoughts about deep things that but not most people don't want to talk about. And like, even in middle school, like when I went to a dance, I was like, da-da-da-da-da. And I'm like, that's who I am. I am a bit of a spaz. I am a bit intense. I recognize that. But it makes me an outsider. So I have to pretend to not be that way to fit in. I have to not talk about things with certain people so that they want to hang out with me. You know, like, and I don't know about you guys, but this time of year really brings that into relief because there's parties happening. And like one of the women who's in that lunch always has a Christmas party. And I have not been invited to it. Now, I don't know if she stopped having it. Maybe she did. I used to be invited to it, but then COVID hit. So maybe she hasn't had it since COVID. Or maybe I'm just not invited. But that happens a lot. There are things happening, people get together, and you hear about it, you see the pictures on social media, and you're like, oh, I didn't get invited to that. And as I think about Christmas season and Christmas movies, one of my all-time favorites is Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. Came out in the late 60s. And that, now that I'm an adult and I think about it, that whole movie is about how hard it is for misfits. Rudolph, born into a good family, he's like Dasher or Donner's kid. Everybody's like, Santa's like, no, this guy, he's going to be my future reindeer. And then he's got the nose. And even in the song, it says like all the other reindeer used to laugh and call him names. They never let poor Rudolph join in any reindeer games. I often feel like Rudolph. You know, like I'm not allowed to play in the reindeer games because I'm too much. Or Herbie. Desperately, he's an elf. And he doesn't want to make toys. He wants to fix teeth. And they're like, what is wrong with you, Herbie? Elves aren't dentists. Elves make toys. And he's like, I don't want to make toys. And so he tries to make toys, but he's terrible at it because he's just not gifted as a toy maker. And he decides he's going to leave. And then they run across Yukon Cornelius, you know, and the Abominables push out. And then they run away and they find this island. And the island is filled with misfit toys. All these toys who have something about them that's different. And so therefore they're rejected. You've got the train with the square wheels. You've got the Charlie in the box. You've got the little Dolly. And I was like, what is Dolly there? Because she's sad. She's not a happy Dolly. She's a depressed Dolly. So no one wants a depressed Dolly. So she goes to the island of misfit toys. You've got the fish that doesn't swim. You've got the gun that shoots jam, you know, and all these toys, they have something unique about them, but because they're not like everyone else, they're pushed aside. They're cast out. And I don't know about you, but I very often feel like I might belong on that island. Like there is something inherently so different about me that I'm not invited to the lunch table, that I'm not invited to that New Year's party. And you know what? God gets that. God understands that. In fact, Jesus tells a story about God who threw the party and nobody came. So God gets our pain. It says in, I'm going to skip that part. So, sorry, my train of thought went elsewhere. So like, Jesus is with these Pharisees and all these people, and he's telling a story to help people understand, because Jesus is Jewish. And the Jewish people belonged in God's family, right? And they understood what it's like to be part of God's family. Oh, actually, I will go back to that. God came to Abraham and he's like, hey, Abe, I want you to be one of my people. I want you to be mine, in my crew. He says, and if you say yes to me, I'm going to do all these great things for you. I'm going to make you into a great nation. I'm going to bless you. I'm going to make your name great. You're going to be a blessing. I'm going to bless everybody who's nice to you. I'm going to curse everybody who's mean to you. And you're going to be, and I'm going to be with you. Emmanuel, I'm going to be with you. And so he's like, you gotta go. If you go, then you're mine. You're part of my family. And the Jewish people understood that. They understood, I'm part of God's family. I'm in. It'd be kind of like being part of like the Kardashian or something, like you're in the big family that makes all the money, that everybody wants to be in that family. Like think of someone who's really rich, who's like got a great family, you're part of that family. And they understood that. And Jesus is like, hold on. You guys are all like, yeah, we belong. We're God's people. Like, we're awesome because God is with us. And he's like, well, let me tell you this story. He says, one time, one of those at the table was with him, and they're like, Jesus, like, blessed is everyone who's going to, basically, like, blessed everybody who's in God's family because they get to feast with God. And Jesus is like, you're right. Blessed is everybody who gets to eat with God. But let me tell you, a certain man was preparing a great banquet, and he invited all these people, many guests, all of his family he invited. And at the time, he sent out his servants to tell everybody who's invited, come, it's ready. Come hang out with me. Come have dinner with me. Let's have this great banquet. But they all began to make excuses. Oh, I just bought a field. I got to go see about that. Please excuse me. Another's like, oh, I just bought 5 yoke of oxen. I'm on my way to try them out. Please excuse me. Oh, another one, I just got married. Sorry, we're busy being newlyweds. Can't come. So the servants came back, and they told the master all these excuses. God sent out an invitation to his family, the people who were supposed to be his, and they were all like, oh, sorry, God, I'm too busy for you. And how often do we do that? God wants to hang out with us every single day. And how often do we say, God, I'm too busy for you. I got to do this stuff for work. I got to go do this thing with my family. I'm going to sit on YouTube for a while. I'm going to watch this show instead. He's like, you're invited. My people, my family was invited, and they all made excuses and didn't come. And I can understand that. I've had parties, and I invite all these people, and hardly anybody comes. And that makes me feel like there's something wrong with me. God understands that rejection because God's own family rejected him too and still does. We reject God whenever we have time to spend with him and we make up an excuse. We turn on the TV, we pull out social media and don't spend time with him. And the owner of the house got really mad. He's like, what the heck? I invited you all to this great banquet and y'all have too many excuses? He's like, fine. Go out in the streets, on the alleys. Go out and bring in the poor, the crippled, the blind, and the lame. Now, I think we could agree that the poor, the crippled, the blind, and the lame often get left off of party lists. You don't see too many homeless people at people's, when you see people's like Thanksgiving and Christmas pictures, you don't see some random like person in those pictures. They pretty much just invite their family. And God's like, all right, bring them all. And so they did. They came because they're probably like, yes, free food. We get to come to the banquet? We're allowed in? That's awesome. After they did that, he says, sir, what you've ordered has done. There's still room. He's like, cool. Then go out and find out on the roads, the country lanes, head out even further. Compel them to come. Beg people to come so that my house is full. I don't want to feel rejected. And if my people who supposedly are my family reject me, fine. Go out and invite everybody else. Let them come and be a part of my family. Because I tell you, not one of those who was invited will get to taste my banquet. So he is talking about now, and I call it super heaven. He's like, my people who are too busy for me, too busy to read the Bible, too busy to pray, too busy to spend time with me, making all these excuses, they're not going to get in. They say they're my family, but they're not because they won't come. And so, you know what I'll do? I'll just invite everybody else. And anybody who wants to come can come. And that is the beauty of Christmas. Because that is what Jesus did. Before Jesus, only members of the family were invited. Before Jesus, you had to be a part of the family to get invited to God's banquet. How do you join a family? You're either born into it or you marry into it. And God's saying, you know what? I'm going to send Jesus, and he's going to fling wide the gates. And anybody who wants to come can come to my party. I am not going to exclude anyone. So if you say you want to hang out with me, come on in. And I love that. God doesn't exclude anyone. God doesn't tell anyone no. And the whole reason Jesus came, he says, God so loved the world, not God so loved his family, God so loved his people, God so loved the whole world that he gave his son, that whoever believes in him will not die but have eternal life. If you believe in Jesus, you're adopted into God's family, and you get to come to the banquet daily and in heaven. That's why Jesus came. He came so that we who are not Jews, I'm looking around the room, none of you look Middle Eastern to me. Jesus is Middle Eastern. Okay? None of you, I'm talking to you, I know most of you fairly well, not a single one of you have told me that you grew up Jewish. So you would not be invited into God's family if you were not from Abraham's lineage and Jewish. But because of Jesus, all you have to do is say yes and get baptized, and he's like, come on in. Back up the truck. You can come anytime you want. Can you imagine if anytime you wanted to go have dinner, think of someone super rich who you like. I could throw out names, but politically and like culturally, you might be like, ew, not that person. So think of someone super rich. You get to go to Indian Hill whenever you want and just walk in the door and have dinner with whoever's super rich. Whenever you want. That's what it's like to be a part of God's family. And Paul reminds us in his letter to Ephesians, he's like, you got to remember, at one time you were a Gentile. Gentiles are non-Jewish people. That's us. We are Gentiles. At one time, he says, you were separate from God. You weren't allowed in the family. You couldn't just show up to a Jewish house and be like, hey, I want to join your family. Can you imagine if someone walked in your house and be like, knock, knock, knock. Hey, can you adopt me? You'd be like, who are you? I don't know you. But that's what he does. He says, oh, you are outside the family? You are not a part of us? You want in? We'll adopt you. No questions asked. No background check required. He says, you were separate from the Messiah. You were alienated from God's family, the Commonwealth of Israel. You were a stranger. You didn't have those promises to Abraham. I will make your name great. I will bless you. I will protect you. I'll curse the people who curse you. All those promises that God made to Abraham, when you're adopted into the family, those become your promises too. And God says, Paul's reminding us, hey, if it wasn't for Jesus, you wouldn't have that. You don't have access to that. It's because of Jesus that you can be adopted into the family. You are no longer a misfit. You're one of God's kids now, with all the rights and promises that come with that. You know, when I was a kid and Christy didn't invite me to her party, I went and found the one other kid, one other girl in my grade who wasn't invited to the party. We had our own party. And we had a good time. I remember that night. It was fun. You know, my friends who left me out at lunch, I found other people who had the same lunch, and I had lunch with them. So from a practical perspective, because some of you are like, Stephanie, that's great. That's great that when I die, I get to go to heaven and be with Jesus. That's awesome. But what do I do right now when I'm feeling left out? How do I handle life right now when I feel left out? Well, you're not the only misfit. What I like about the Rudolph story is those toys weren't all out in the tundra by themselves. They came together, and they made a little community of misfit toys. They had their own little island where they were all friends, and nobody cared that they were different. And that's what this is. That's what church is supposed to be. Church is supposed to be our own little island of misfit toys. We are supposed to be, here at Bromley Christian Church, we say grace, acceptance, and love. If someone walks in here and they are high out of their mind, we still say, come on in, sit down. We want you to be part of our family. If someone comes in here and they're in their like prison, orange, red, it's obvious they just came from prison, we're like, come on in, what's your name? We'd love to hang out with you. That's what we're supposed to be. We're supposed to be an island of misfit toys. We're supposed to be an island where everybody is welcome no matter what. That's who Jesus is. And Christian means Christ-like. So we're supposed to welcome everybody. It doesn't matter if you're Republican or Democrat. Doesn't matter if you're rich or poor. Doesn't matter if you're whatever. Anything that might separate people in this world. We tend to like to separate me versus you. Jesus says, bring it all together. Invite them all to the banquet. And so if you're feeling left out, if you, like me, feel like you have been cast out to the island of misfit toys, one, of course we want to see you on Sundays, but even more so, like on Wednesday nights at 6, we've been hanging out. I sometimes feel like that's kind of an island of misfit toys, our little Wednesday night gathering. But we have so much fun. We laugh and joke and kid. We listen to each other. We're getting to know each other. We eat. We watch Chosen. Like, this is sit and get. It's hard to develop relationships when you're just sitting and listening to me. But on Wednesday nights, that's where it's at. That's where we listen and support and we're there for each other. We talk about Jesus. We watch a show. We're teasing each other. That's the good stuff. That's what church is supposed to be. This is great, but that's what church is really supposed to be. So if you feel left out, if this Christmas you're feeling like you live on the island, you've been cast out to the island of misfit toys, then I highly recommend you start coming on Wednesday nights. It's good stuff. It's fun. And I dare you. Oh, where'd my D go? Okay. What happened to D? The D was something like, find someone, look around your sphere and find someone who's been cast out. Have lunch with them. Go to a movie with them. Go for a walk with them. Invite them to the lunch table. There are misfits among us. Who around you is the misfit who hasn't been invited? And invite them into something. Somewhere. Invite them on Wednesday nights. Invite them to lunch. Invite them over to your house for tea. Whatever you drink. Coffee, whatever. You could ask God, who are you inviting me, God, to embrace in a way that's new? Who else is the misfit, Lord, that you want me to reach out to? You could read the story of the great banquet in Luke 14, and to engage, bring someone with you, either next Sunday or on Wednesday night. Is there someone who typically spends the holiday alone? Is there someone who, like me, like you, feels cast aside? Invite them to start coming. Invite them to our island where they aren't a misfit. You know, they called it the island of misfit toys, but really on the island, no one was a misfit. Everyone was embraced for their differences. That's who we're called to be. And all of God's children said, Amen.